So, you want to design a website, or a logo, or a book, or a magazine, or a video, or just about anything. How are you going to organize the material presented? What colors are you going to use to help project the message of the project? A grid is a concept used in project layout that helps to create order and ease user intake of the presented material. For the purposes of this project, I will define my screen quadrants in terms of a grid. In keeping with the rule of thirds in graphic design, I have further broken up this video into 9 regions. As such, the first third, or in this case, 3 areas, contain stills of the websites I will be discussing. The second third contains the title with bleed over space from the final column of 3, filled by yours truly. As the video progresses, you will see how this method helps to keep your eyes from constantly having to shift around the screen as you search for the relevant portion of the video. I chose this image for my video's background because it uses a monochromatic color scheme. This is in part to mute the background and make the other images and me jump to the foreground. All black and all white is, plainly put, boring. But by using them along with varied blue hues, which is a cooler color and tends to recede, I achieved something unobtrusive but still possessing eye appeal. I scanned the image in a resolution of 300 dpi. There was a notable color shift in the blues. It was both brighter and more saturated in appearance on my monitor in the scan, even though scanner settings were left at default. When scanned at 300 dpi resolution, the image was roughly 3500 by 2500 pixels, equating on a monitor display to 48 inches by 35 inches in size. Reducing the resolution in Photoshop to 72 dpi, the image reverts to the original image size of 8.5 by 11, at least with regard to pixels. However, this is only in regards to pixel size for monitor display, as printing uses the document size settings in DPI for quality. A common misconception that I entertained until further research is that DPI is relevant to display on a web page or on a monitor. As discussed online at both scantips.com and photoshopessentials.com, monitors and the web work only off the pixels of an image with no regard to DPI. As you can see with this example I found online at scantips.com, these 2 images, which look identical online and in Photoshop, are set at 2 very different resolution settings. It is only when attempting to print an image that DPI comes into play, and a low DPI will result in a very poorly printed image. But enough of that now. Let's talk color. As one might expect, the choice of color scheme for any given project is often dictated, at least in part, by the subject matter. Take, for example, the website for the magazine Ado Noir. The magazine itself is specifically to showcase black and white photography by various artists. By nature of the subject matter, the website's designer no doubt took the subject into account when they created this website with an achromatic color scheme. As with black and white photos, the color scheme, devoid of hue, provides both elegance and simplicity to the site. Also interesting to note is the idea that by removing color, shape and shadow become more pronounced, and in some cases, negative space becomes the subject. This website, EcoKey, focuses on earth-friendly products and lifestyle, so the analogous color scheme using earth tones seems an easy choice for the designer. On pages 19 through 25 of the McCracken PDF, Daniel McCracken discusses the difference between saturation, brightness, and hue. Reduced saturation is used on the brown here to create the muted mottled brown background of this website. Alternatively, by starting with the lighter background color, the brightness was lowered to create the dark brown of the menu bar. Of course, the amount of saturation is up to the designer and the client's taste, but depending on the media, there is such a thing as too much saturation. Ew. In Douglas Menezes' website, we find an example of a triad color scheme. At first glance, one might assume this is actually a complementary color scheme, seeming to be putting red up against green, one of the most common complementary color schemes. What? You don't think so? Maybe this will ring a bell. On closer inspection, you will notice that both the green and the red colors lean toward the blue hue. These two, along with the desaturated yellow, work together to make this interesting combination. The reddish purple and aqua green play off each other in contrast, not too unlike complementary colors, while the subdued yellow creates the perfect lighthearted space for the other two colors to interact upon. The combination elicits a sense of whimsy and childlike imagination, while somehow keeping just a hint of sophistication to it. Or at least that's what I see from this color combination. And to a degree, that is just it. While many colors have certain almost universally recognized symbolic or psychological meanings, the combinations of these colors leave much for individual interpretation. So what is the right color scheme for your next project? Depends. Who is your audience? What is your target market? What does your client like? And not to be overlooked, what color scheme do you like? But don't just know what you like, know why you like it. It can make the difference between a happy client and a confused client.